Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Countless Americans watched on TV, listening to NASA scientists and chief public relations officers. During the launch, Apollo 11 split into its two parts, the Eagle, containing Armstrong and Aldrin, and the Columbia, containing Michael Collins. The Eagle descended to the moon's surface, and the astronauts on board collected 21.5 kilograms of lunar samples. Over the duration of a couple hours, the world watched as 3 astronauts galumphing around the moon. After a 21-hour stay because of limited oxygen, and a 4-day trip back, the 3 men arrived with a splash in the Pacific Ocean. After a brief quarantine, they were released and hailed as American heroes. Parades in Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles celebrated their superb accomplishment. The history of technology was significantly altered in the process of achieving this goal. Our nation's scientists worked tirelessly to develop new technology, and their preparation for the Apollo program accelerated innovation in rockets, computers, and other space-age materials. Project Mercury and Project Gemini provided the foundation for Apollo systems, but many improvements were necessary in the areas of life support, guidance, and computer systems to accommodate the extended length of the upcoming trip. Leading scientists from around the world worked against one another in both the U.S. and Soviet nations to solve new problems and achieve their nation's goals. TV broadcasts of the first moon landing inspired generations of children to pursue science.
How did the whole moon landing change your view of the world?
It was the first time we'd ever seen a photo of Earth from space. And it was the first time it was as if humanity looked in the mirror at itself for the first time in its history. So at the same time we had this sense of the limitless possibility of the human race, we had a sense of the limits of the planet where we lived and the possibilities for what we could produce. It was amazing to see him stand on the moon. It was as if humanity was awestruck. President Kennedy had set this goal for us to compete with the godless Soviets, and we, God-fearing Americans, had achieved it.
The scientific progress did not stop in the preparation for the space flight. The samples retrieved on this expedition have had a profound impact on science today. 3 generations of scientists have applied their best analytical technologies, and research laboratories still study these samples. Through these studies, we have learned that the moon is an evolved satellite with internal zoning similar to Earth's. Our scientists compared matter from the moon with that of the Earth and found through carbon dating many anatomical similarities. They found that the two are genetically related and formed from different proportions of a common reservoir. The youngest moon rocks are virtually as old as the oldest Earth rocks. This indicates that the earliest processes and events that affected both planets can be found on the moon. On this mission and subsequent trips, the Apollo program has confirmed that the moon is lifeless, containing no living organisms, fossils, or native organic compounds. The moon rocks tested originated through high-temperature processes with little or no involvement with water. Scientists have also made numerous discoveries about the moon's history. Early in its existence, the moon had what is known as a magma ocean. Today, the lunar highlands contain the remnants of early, low-density rocks that floated to the surface. The time of the lunar magma ocean was followed by a series of huge asteroid impacts that created basins, which were later filled by lava flows. The lunar regolith, or the rubble pile of rock fragments and dust that cover the surface of the moon, contain what is called a unique radiation and the history of the sun. This has been essential in understanding the Earth's climate changes.
Along with an overwhelming impact on the technological advancement of our nation, America's success changed the political landscape of the world during the latter half of the Cold War. When the US's Apollo 11 landed on the moon, it won America the space race. For many, this victory proved American and therefore capitalist superiority. Many divisions arose in this great race, and the new celestial frontier brought the possibility of militaristic conflict. Even so, further space discovery brought many new possibilities of cooperation. In 1963, Kennedy proposed joint lunar expansion between the Soviets and the United States. This came to fruition in 1975, 6 years after the successful moon landing. Khrushchev, the Russian leader at the time, was hesitant, as he feared the U.S. would require a reduction in his army's size. While cooperation was eventually achieved, malicious efforts from both sides continued. America's manned orbiting laboratory, while placed under a facade of scientific research, had a covert mission of espionage, giving American spies an advantage when infiltrating Soviet laboratories. Our expansion to space had a bevy of effects, both positive and negative, on the state of the Cold War. However, its changes were seen on a domestic stage as well. Few moments in American history have been more patriotic than Armstrong planting the American flag on the moon's crust and saluting it before the eyes of 600 million viewers. In the years leading up to this astounding event, the United States and the Soviet Union made many cosmonautical inventions and strove to win the race of sending a man to the moon. The moon landing changed history politically, scientifically, and socially. It gave Americans the victory over the Soviets.